Hey, playa, have you ever been completely embarrassed in school before by your teacher nonetheless? It's happened to me quite a few times, so I wanted to talk about what my experience was like and how I learned to reshape those moments into positive stories that I could talk about.
This is the Josh Beats, you're watching the Josh Beat.
My name is Josh, and every single week I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories teaching you how to be your best self. And the very first time that I can remember really getting embarrassed in school by my teacher was in the 3rd grade. At the time, every 3rd grade class had to put on a different class play. For my class, we did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I don't quite remember what the other class did, but I do remember what happened when our teacher wanted us to put together a card thanking them for all their hard work. When the play finished and we got back to class, our teacher put together a gigantic card for every single student in our class to write a little message and sign. So when it finally got to me, I was thinking about what I wanted to write, and I remembered the most popular movie at the time, which was Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. Now, me being a little 3rd grader didn't really know what bogus meant, and I thought it was just a cool and good word. I mean, it was in the title of this movie, so I included that in my message.
Dear Class 315, your play was absolutely bogus. Signed, Josh.
When the card got back to the teacher, she started reading some of the messages and her eyes just locked in on what I wrote, and she just yelled at the top of her lungs, "Josh, you completely ruined this card. What were you even thinking? How can you write something like that?" And little me was all like,
It was bogus? Like Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure?
yeah, that didn't really sit well with her. She just continued to yell at me and embarrass me and make me feel incredibly stupid in front of everyone else in my class. But that's not as bad as what happened to me in the 6th grade when my teacher took it up a notch for something that I felt like I had no control over. Here I was, little 6th grade Josh, trying to write my notes sitting in the front of class when my teacher decided to kind of rearrange the order of the seats so that different kids were sitting in the front and other kids in the front were sitting in the back. So that meant me, who was kind of sitting in the front writing all my notes, now had to do it from the back. Little did I know that I actually needed glasses for school so that I could see the board better, I can actually copy my notes down. But at the time, here I was now sitting in the back of the class, squinting, trying to make sense of what I see on the board. And this is one of those teachers that would just write mountains of notes on the board and want you to copy it down, when in reality, they probably could have just printed out a paper and gave us the notes rather than having us copy everything down in our notebooks, but that's a separate point. So my teacher's talking, other kids are writing, and here I am still struggling with the very beginning of the first few lines of what he wrote on the board, when he asked the whole class, "All right, I'm gonna erase some of the notes. Did everyone copy it down?" And I raise my hand and I say, "Oh, I haven't copied it down yet." So he walks on over to my desk, sees my notebook completely bare with only 1 or 2 lines written out of the 20 or so lines that he had, and he just flips out on me. "What's taking you so long to write all the notes? What, you can't see them or something? Why don't you just raise your hand and say something? Why are you gonna let me move you to the back of the room without actually letting me know you can't see the notes? Now you're gonna hold up the rest of the class and make everyone else just not pay attention." And 6th grade me was all just like,
Yeah, sorry.
at the time, I didn't know that I needed glasses to see the board, but what I did know was that my teacher completely embarrassed me in front of my entire class, including my crushes that were sitting there watching me as this whole thing unfolded. And look, getting chewed out by your teacher in front of your crush is embarrassing, but it's not as embarrassing as what happened to me in high school, when my teacher just kind of responded to me in the most disappointed way in front of my crush and all my other friends. As a freshman in high school biology class, I didn't really get the best grades. Sure, I studied hard and I tried my best, but for some reason I just couldn't do well on that teacher's exams. So one day, he had given us a test on one of those long Scantron sheets, and the thing about those Scantrons was that the teachers could easily grade them, just put them in a machine and they mark it for you. So we had gotten our grades back a little bit later in that class. And when my teacher finally came around to my desk to give me my test back, wasn't the best reaction. I think I had gotten like a 35 or something. It was clearly a failing grade, and the way the teacher gave back those grades was he'd hold the big stack, look at the name, and if you did good, he'd give you back the grade. Face forward, everyone can see it and say, "Wow, you did a really good job." But when he finally came to me with my failing grade, which I didn't really want a lot of people to know, he just kind of slid it on the desk, looked me in the eyes and said,
You could have probably did a lot better if you spent less time goofing off at home and you spent more time studying.
That's probably something you should tell the student in private rather than saying it in front of all the other people sitting at their table watching you give them back their grade. I was so incredibly embarrassed, but even more, I was disappointed in myself. Not because of my bad grade, but because my teacher made me feel like I didn't work hard enough. Sure, maybe I could have studied more, but instead of encouraging me to get a tutor, to form a study group, or to actively work on trying to improve my grades by seeking out what my issues were, he just shamed me in front of everyone, and it just hurt so much. Looking back on these experiences, I can't help but feel sorry for little Josh, who maybe didn't know better at the time, or didn't understand how to work on resolving those problems. And instead of the teachers actively helping them, understanding, and trying to find a solution that worked with him, they just berated him. They just came from a place of anger and ego on what they felt rather than working with that little student. I know those teachers didn't set out to be mean and they just kind of reacted in the situation, but I feel like the biggest life lesson I gained was to realize that teachers are fallible. Teachers are human. Teachers make mistakes just like everyone else. So when you feel like you're on the receiving end of someone trying to embarrass you, think to yourself, wow, that is a behavior I don't want to exhibit. I want to do my best to not create that intense moment for someone else by making them feel bad. Let these teachers and their embarrassing situations they put you in be the life lesson and learning guide that you need to be your best self. Now, what I want you to do is check out the video over there on the side, where I'm going to go more into how to deal with embarrassing situations. I've encountered a lot of them, so I have quite a few tips that I think could be helpful for you. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons, YouTube channel members. These are the people that help support the channel. So if you want to learn how you can talk to me one-on-one every single month, check out the link to Patreon down below. On that note, I'll catch you next time. As always, love and peace.